Who's up next? Okay, bring it.
So in college, I had a friend named Trey. And if I could characterize Trey in one word, it would be Rafiki from The Lion King. You know, that crazy, wise baboon who cackles to himself and talks to the sky? Yeah, that was Trey. Trey was notorious for getting a 1 out of 5 on his AP literature test because he simply didn't care for the writing prompts, and he chose to write a creative short story instead of responding to it. Even at school, Trey never went to class. He was always having philosophical conversations in the dining hall, watching a new anime series, or learning a new language. But Trey exhibited the kind of quiet leadership that we talked about in Jane's class. He wasn't trying to be a leader, but he inspired me because he didn't give a fuck what anyone thought about him. He shamelessly pursued his curiosities, and he was unapologetically true to himself. And I thought he was fearless. So I told him this one night in the dining hall when I was freaking out about whether I should apply for medical school or for this competitive travel fellowship. And Trey goes, "Leanne, I'm flattered, but I'm not fearless. In fact, I'm terrified of heights. But I really want to go skydiving." And I was like, "Huh?" And he said, "Yeah, you know, I've always wanted to know what it's like to fly, and I just want to get rid of this burdensome fear. I think if I could do it, I'd feel infinite, you know?" And I was like, "No, not really." But I was moved, and so I said, "You know what, if you ever go skydiving, I'll go with you." He said, "Yeah, that's cool, Leanne, but I really think you need to take your risk right now. No offense, I've been watching you freak out for the last few days, and I just have to say that there are a million doctors in the world, and frankly, they're not that special. But you have all these special talents and unique interests in food and medicine and cooking and connecting people and writing. I want to see you develop these unique talents that make you you." And so I took a risk, and it changed my life. I spent a year in Argentina learning the things I've always wanted to learn but never had the courage to. I learned 4 different forms of dance, I joined a CrossFit gym, I started practicing Bikram yoga every week, I learned a form of martial arts called Wing Chun, and I began playing music with other musicians. I've been trying to do something that scares me every year since, and this year the scary thing I did was commit to graduate school at TGI with all of you, which I know to many seems like the safe escape from the working world option, but to me it felt like the scariest and hardest one, because school threatens my very core sense of self. Frankly, I feel dumb and incompetent half the time, and the other half of the time I feel like assignments can be contrived. And all the self-compassion and self-love I work so hard to cultivate goes right out the window when I look at finance. The numbers just swim senselessly in front of me, and I feel myself spiral into panic. But Trey taught me 2 very important lessons. First, you don't grow unless you take risks. And second, it's much better to be yourself than to pretend to be someone you're not. And I think these are 2 leadership qualities I'm working on in MSIM. And so instead of worrying about what I thought my classmates and professors expected from a Harvard graduate, I was very forthcoming about my anxieties, and I was very open about the things I loved and my hobbies. And I've been overwhelmed with gratitude by the amount of support and encouragement and serendipitous musical alchemy that has come out of that. And so my invitation to all of you is this: risk being seen in all of your imperfect glory. Because when you do, you'll find that there are people like Trey all around us, conspiring with the universe to help us grow. And in case you were wondering, Trey and I did eventually go skydiving. We watched the sunset over Providence, Rhode Island from 10,000 feet in the air, and we felt infinite.
Thank you. Okay, over to Survey Monkey. what did you appreciate? What did you like?
That was a beautiful speech. I was completely engaged. I was following the story. I love the fact how at the end she finished with telling us that they actually ended up going to skydiving, which was pretty awesome.
Thank you.
I think it's like the most Leanne thing I've ever heard. so I loved how much of her personality came in it, and how much like you could really like understand how much it meant to her, and like just how transformative in her life it was, and I think that was very fun to see.
In the video.
I feel like she make a very good transaction between the storytelling and the related to the MIS program, because she first mentioned all about the risk she take before, and then this year the risk is to take this program, so it's like very good connection. When she said that sentence, I'll be like, yeah, that's a smooth transaction.
It was so lovely that it was like hearing to a storytelling. Like she made it, the whole thing so peaceful and calm that I was like, wow. I was very serene and calm listening to the whole thing.
Anything else?
I love her voice.
That's great.
Can I say, I think when you're giving a speech, it's often hard to keep your face in the right expression, but I think you did a good job with that here.
So Leanne, I know you sent me an outline that had enough for 2, if not 3 different speeches, right? And so your main task was curating which details and being really clear about the message. And I think you absolutely did that really, really well today. Just well-chosen details and sort of the circling back. My son is learning at school, those are called circle stories, right? Because you go back to the beginning at the end, and that was a lovely coda. All right. So, suggestions. What coaching or ideas might you offer up to Leanne to enhance this speech?
I think you were like a little shaking.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, you were. So I would just suggest, because it was evident when you used to do this. So your hands, probably to the people who were on the front row, I was right next to you. So I would just suggest not to, some way if you can work around it, it will be just perfect. That's all.
I think it was a really lovely speech. I wish you centered. You stood more in the center, because where you were, I was like this the whole time to see you. And I think that was like a total coincidence.
So my advice might completely conflict with Puneet's, because I wanted to see a little bit more hand gestures. I like acting, and I also will say I didn't notice your hand shaking, but even if it was, I don't really think I would care, because you're doing such a good speech. It's like everyone's nervous, I don't know. That's my feeling.
This is a strange observation to make. Your storytelling was so strong that I'm like, what was your call to action again? Like there's like, okay, bring your, let people see your, I'm having trouble recalling well or vividly the call to action, because I'm still caught up with the story. And that's sort of an interesting and odd place to be. And I don't exactly know what the actionable suggestion is coming out of that. But the strength of your story, I don't know if there's a way to match the strength of the call to action. I don't know if that's sharpening or shortening it. Similarly, you had 2 things, right? 2 messages that I recall. So I don't know, there might be some way of just honing that piece of it.
I think actually, maybe one way that, because I also didn't really remember what the call to action or the relevancy to MSIM was in your words. I know how it's relevant to all of us, but in your words, I don't remember. But maybe because at the end you strayed and you went back to the skydiving, which was so wholesome, but if you had said that before and then given the call to action, then it would resonate. If you just ended with that, it would resonate more with us, because it's the ending, So maybe we would remember that better.
Well done. One more?
Oh yeah, it was still go along with the story thing. Yeah, it was such a pretty story. Also, I remember you said that there were 2 things for us, and I remember when you said them, I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's so pretty. But in retrospect, I think it'd be maybe put a bit more of a shift in it from Alex's
Then maybe that's something that could help bring it out. I don't know. Like shift. Were you guys weren't there for that? When Alex gave us like a talk on great speeches or like talks, he said that to like change like the tone or like just change like shift like I don't know.
Shift in like pace and tone.
Yeah.
Great. All right, Leanne, thank you. Well done.